When it comes to creatures with extraordinary desert survival abilities, the camel is undoubtedly the most iconic. Many people mistakenly believe that camels can never die of thirst in the desert, and there's even a legend that their humps are filled with water. However, the reality is that camel remains that are occasionally found in the desert. How do these animals survive in such harsh environments? And what causes their demise? Today, let's uncover the mysteries of the intertwined life and death between camels and the desert, gaining a deeper understanding of the survival strategies that of these remarkable creatures. When discussing the camel's thirst tolerance, its iconic hump is undoubtedly important. However, surprisingly, many people misunderstand its hump. It stores approximately 30 to 40 kilograms of fat, not water. When the camel is dehydrated or without food, this fat gradually breaks down, providing energy and generating a small amount of water through oxidation. However, this is only a means for the camel's thirst tolerance. The true driver of its desert survival lies in its sophisticated water-saving mechanisms. Camels are natural masters of drinking. Once they find a water source, they can consume 100 to 150 liters of water in just 10 minutes. Unlike humans, this water isn't stored in the stomach, but rather evenly distributed throughout cells throughout the body, increasing the water content of their blood from 85% to 90%. Even more remarkable is the oval shape of camel red blood cells. This unique structure allows blood to flow smoothly even when dehydrated, preventing blood clots. Camels have an exceptionally keen sense of smell, able to detect the scent of moisture deep in the soil up to 5 kilometers away. They can also infer the location of water sources by observing the distribution of plants such as Artemisia or Dasyka and camel thorn. Even more astonishingly, their ability to detect groundwater levels is almost comparable to that of a biological detector. When the surface temperature in the desert exceeds 30 degrees Celsius, evaporating water vapor from the ground creates cold air masses at low altitudes. Camels, by raising their heads, detect these subtle temperature fluctuations and accurately locate water sources. If camels possess such remarkable survival abilities, why do their remains still appear in the desert? The reality is that camels' thirst tolerance isn't infallible. They can die from dehydration in the following 3 situations. Deserts already have little rainfall. If drought persists for months, withering surface vegetation, and drying up groundwater, camels face a desperate situation with no water. Even if all the fat in their humps is consumed and their body water loss exceeds 25% of their body weight, camels can still die from organ dehydration. This situation is particularly pronounced during the dry season in the Sahara Desert, where herders often witness camels struggling to move for several kilometers in a single direction, only to collapse just feet from a water source. It's not that they haven't found water, but rather that their bodies can no longer sustain them. As typical water-seeking migratory animals, camels follow a predetermined route each year to search for water and pasture in the desert. However, increasing human activity in the desert's vicinity has encroached on and blocked their traditional migration routes. When barriers like fences and irrigation channels prevent camels from reaching familiar water sources, they're forced into even drier desert areas. At the same time, overgrazing has significantly reduced desert vegetation, depriving camels of their natural means of hydrating through grazing, exacerbating their survival pressures. It has been observed that camel mortality rates in desert fringes with dense human activity are over 40% higher than in pristine desert areas. Even without experiencing extreme drought, camels can suffer from chronic water deprivation. Before weaning, calves primarily rely on their mother's milk. If their mother's milk production decreases due to dehydration, calves suffer from developmental delays and weaken immunity, and their survival rate plummets from 70% to 30%. For adult camels, prolonged consumption of water with excessively high salt content places a strain on their kidneys. While they can temporarily excrete excess salt through their salt glands, electrolyte imbalances can lead to organ failure over several months. This slow and subtle death process is often mistaken for natural aging. A camel's life is essentially a fierce battle with the desert environment, relying on unique physiological mechanisms that evolved over millions of years. They have achieved miraculous survival in extreme conditions such as drought, high temperatures, and sandstorms. However, they are also subject to the constraints of natural laws and environmental changes. It is worth noting that camels' thirst tolerance is not infinite, but rather a carefully calculated energy allocation system. When deprived of water for more than 10 days, they prioritize shutting down non-essential physiological functions, concentrating limited water on core organs such as the heart and brain.